I start with you, Ms. Lei? How important is the legacy of Dr. Sun Yat-sen for today's Taiwan?
Well, certainly for a long, long time during the KMT rule, Dr. Sun Yat-sen's 3 principles of the people were used as the blueprint to build Taiwan to what it is today. Certainly with the DPP, there is a sudden change of direction, but whatever foundations were laid by the KMT rule based on the Dr. Sun Yat-sen's teaching were still rapidly available and apparent in all aspects of Taiwan, in political, social, and economic development.
Ms. Lei, I understand the DPP, which is now the ruling party, has been asking schools to take off portraits of Dr. Sun Yat-sen from the walls or from their classrooms. Obviously, this has been a move opposed by the Kuomintang. Founder of the Kuomintang, of course, is Dr. Sun Yat-sen. What do you make of the recent debates about this in Taiwan? In fact, how much does that reflect about 2 very different visions about Taiwan's future?
Well, certainly the mainstream DPP currently is treating the KMT regime as a period. In other words, they sort of treat KMT as a dynasty which has passed, and as such that they are trying to eradicate a lot of historical markings such as Dr. Sun Yat-sen. Let me share a couple of experiences. When we were in high school, all students have to study the 3 principles of the people. They also have to study what Mr. Xi Jinping referred to as the blueprint to build a modern China. Those served as the foundation of our political understanding, but also social and economic developments. DPP, having said that, they have no recollection, nor do they have any relationship with whatever KMT did in mainland China, tried to separate those old markings and try to build their own ideology. As such, they're trying to take away Dr. Sun Yat-sen, which to me is an extremely stupid move, because Sun Yat-sen is also a great framework of discussion across Taiwan Straits and with the great powers currently in existence.
Ms. Lei, just for our international viewers' sake, you keep on saying about the 3 principles of the people. Would you like to help us understand exactly what they are so that people will have a better understanding of what kind of framework we're talking about here, Ms. Lei?
Well, certainly when Dr. Sun Yat-sen faced the 19th century China, he was keenly aware of the state of the state, which was poor and plagued by poverty, underdevelopment, and international colonial occupation. So his first principle was on nationalism. The second principle was on rule of law, and specifically rule of constitutional law. And the third principle was on economic development. They are generally referred to as 民族、民权、民生, the 3 principles of the people.
Absolutely beautiful explanation. Thank you so much, ma'am. Let's go to Mr. Zhong here in Beijing. Observing from Beijing, what do you make of the struggles, as Ms. Lei illustrated, between the 2 parties in terms of what kind of legacy about Dr. Sun Yat-sen should be remembered? How much should they be remembered, and how much should they be tied to the development of the Kuomintang and the development of Taiwan?
As Dr. Sun Yat-sen is the founding father of the so-called ROC, so that is a great figure for KMT. But DPP is trying to abolish the so-called ROC. DPP is trying to set up the so-called Taiwan Republic. So the DPP or Tsai Ing-wen is trying to abolish or remove, just as you said, Dr. Sun Yat-sen's portrait in classroom. Actually, about several months ago, Tsai Ing-wen should to pay a remote tribute to Dr. Sun Yat-sen's mausoleum, but she refused.
That has been a political practice for any leader in Taiwan.
Yeah, just as her presidency. And actually, in about 2 years ago, some DPP supporters even toppled the Dr. Sun Yat-sen's statue in Tainan. So those acts show that DPP is trying to destroy or destruct the figure of Dr. Sun Yat-sen in Taiwan.
But the question is it possible? I mean, the history of Dr. Sun Yat-sen, his legacy has been with the people in Taiwan for decades.
Exactly.
And people grew up by learning the kinds of strong motive he had about saving the country and working with all the people of all levels. The question is, if the DPP keep on doing that, will that lose them the hearts and minds of the people in Taiwan? What exactly is the political atmosphere there?
Okay. Actually, Dr. Sun Yat-sen is the biggest common indicator in Taiwan. So most people in Taiwan, especially the older generation, support Dr. Sun Yat-sen. If Tsai Ing-wen continue to destruct the Dr. Sun Yat-sen's image or figure, I think she will lose the heart or minds of Taiwan common people.
Ms. Lei, what do you and your colleagues, together even those from the other party, make of the recent statements by the Chinese Communist Party chairman, Mr. Xi Jinping, regarding the legacy of Dr. Sun? How much do you think this issue is likely, even though it is about history, it's about historical figure, it's likely to, in a way, outline the future debates, if not conflicts, between the two political parties in Taiwan and possibly the general idea about China?
Well, I certainly believe that Dr. Sun Yat-sen's ideas are not only current, but extremely relevant to our situations today. So as Mr. Xi Jinping mentioned, he reiterated a lot of those great thoughts. Those thoughts are dreams about a great China which is unified, prosperous, and deliver great justice to all people. And those are the legacies of Dr. Sun Yat-sen. I certainly hope that all the short-term discussions or short-term upheavals within Taiwan can go back to that mainstream, which is all governments are established for the purpose of the people. And all governments are to contribute to world peace as well as to adjust society across all walks of life. And that's truly what Dr. Sun Yat-sen was about.
And now, Ms. Lei, we recently have seen the head of the Kuomintang visiting the mainland and met with the Chinese Communist Party chief, Mr. Xi Jinping. They both have very friendly exchanges with one another. Exactly what is the current situation of Kuomintang in Taiwan, and how much is Kuomintang, from the bottom of its heart, trying to work for a China?
Well, I certainly think that Hong Xiuzhu is a very suitable leader at this particular junction when Taiwan is firmly under a DPP one-party rule. KMT must find its hearts and souls. It must revive itself, going back to the principles and idealism represented by Dr. Sun Yat-sen. That's why Hong Xiuzhu went to Nanjing first to reconnect, to rekindle that idealism. That is, even though you are in a very dark age, you can still dream big and hope big. And all those dreams is used to rally KMT supporters. She has come back and asked for the KMT party staff to cut their salary and to continue to work for the ideas. I think with that strong moral sentiment and the moral center, Hong Xiuzhu will be able to rally more of the true KMT believers of Dr. Sun Yat-sen to come and work with her.
Is China, from the mainland's perspective, necessarily optimistic about the latest nuances going on in Taiwan? Mr. Zhong.
Actually, the Chinese mainland takes no sides about the internal struggle between KMT and DPP. So But the Chinese mainland bottom line is it would like to engage with any political party which supports 1992 consensus and its co-connotation that is one China principle. So I don't think the Chinese mainland take any side or special side on the on KMT or DPP or their struggle or conflict.
That is one thing. The other thing is also important. The United States, being one of the most powerful countries in the world today, just had its new president-elect. And of course, whatever the personality and the temperament of the president-elect, whenever there is a new president coming into office, the issue of Taiwan could always be a very controversial one.
Yes.
And could always be a prize when a new president for the United States come into power for its learning curve. Ms. Lei, given the dramatic situation in the United States, and that rule almost like that we seen almost also witnessed over the decades about the issue of Taiwan, how can we avoid that from happening, Ms. Lei? That Taiwan, the issue of Taiwan being one that is in a way a prize for the learning curve of any new U.S. president. As you may know, it is one of the key issues that the mainland holds very dearly to its heart.
Well, certainly the cross-strait relationship has to be put in the framework of a U.S. grand strategy. The current president-elect has iterated his position during the campaign, but once he formally takes office, he'll recognize that peace and stability across Taiwan Strait will still be the ultimate strategic interest of the United States. Therefore, I have no question in my mind that he will continue to work with both China and hopefully Taiwan to maintain that peace and stability. Anybody, even when Chen Shui-bian during his second term tried to rock the boat, will always be treated as the bad boy trying to rock peace and stability across Taiwan Straits. However, let me underscore that current relationship across the straits is a little estranged. It is our responsibility to resume proper dialogue across Taiwan Straits. Even if DPP refused to recognize the 92 consensus, other people who believe in a great revival of the China state will continue to have that dialogue, and Dr. Sun Yat-sen will be a great framework for that dialogue.
And before we go from you, Mr. Zhong, of course, the same question, China-U.S. relations, Taiwan issue, always an important one, the principal one.
Exactly.
We do not know yet about the new president-elect, his blueprint about the geopolitics. Earlier we see pivot to Asia. Now he's from another party. He has a different view, at least during the campaign. So how much will the nuances in American politics will have its impact on this part of the world, Asia Pacific, in which the issue of Taiwan is an absolute important one?
Okay, that's really a great significant question. Comparing Republican Party and Democratic Party in U.S., Republican Party is much more supportive for Taiwan. For example, the so-called Taiwan Relations Act and the 6 points of assurances were pushed by the Republican Party. So the Chinese mainland should be much alert on the return of the Republican Party, return to power. And another point is just as Joanna said, the Taiwan issue should be under the framework of Sino and U.S. relationship, should under the framework of U.S. grand strategy in Asia Pacific. So that is, Chinese mainland should try to ask the United States to adhere one China principle. I think that should be made much clearer for the Chinese mainland.